From the chilling whispers of winter to the fiery roar of dragons, Game of Thrones captivated millions. But beneath the fantasy, magic, and epic struggles, hidden threads weave a tapestry of real historical events. George R.R. Martin, the mastermind behind Westeros, meticulously crafted his world by drawing inspiration from centuries of human conflict, power struggles, and the brutal realities of medieval life. The most prominent historical parallel is undoubtedly the Wars of the Roses, a brutal 15th-century English civil war. This dynastic struggle between two powerful houses serves as the core inspiration for Westeros's central conflict. Just as the Lannisters and Starks vie for the Iron Throne, the houses of Lancaster and York battled fiercely for the English crown. Their symbols, the lion and direwolf, mirror the red rose of Lancaster and the white rose of York. Aerys II Targaryen, the Mad King, echoes historical figures like King Henry VI, whose mental instability contributed to political turmoil. The constant struggle for power mirrors centuries of European monarchy. The immense, ice-cold wall, guarding Westeros from the threats beyond, finds its real-world counterpart in Hadrian's Wall. This ancient Roman fortification guarded Britannia from northern barbarians. Just as the wildlings and White Walkers lurked beyond the wall, Pictish and other barbarian tribes continually challenged Roman control. The constant threat shaped a frontier mentality. The disciplined structure and lifelong vows of the Night's Watch also draw parallels to Roman legions, tasked with protecting the empire's borders. Both groups were isolated, dedicated, and often thankless. Aegon the Conqueror's creation of the Iron Throne from the swords of his vanquished enemies reflects a common historical practice, displaying captured enemy weapons as symbols of dominance and conquest. The intricate web of feudal loyalty, vassals, and overlords in Westeros mirrors the complex social and political structures of medieval Europe. Allegiances were constantly tested and shifted. Perhaps the most shocking event, the Red Wedding, has a gruesome historical precedent. The Black Dinner of 1440 and the Massacre of Glencoe in 1692, where guests were brutally murdered despite hospitality vows. Daenerys Targaryen's journey of conquest across Essos, gathering armies and freeing slaves, often parallels historical conquerors like Alexander the Great or, somewhat ironically, William the Conqueror. The nomadic, horse-riding Dothraki, with their fearsome martial prowess and raiding culture, bear a striking resemblance to the Mongol hordes that swept across Asia and Europe, instilling fear and conquering vast territories. The cities of Slaver's Bay, with their complex slave economies and the brutal practices detailed, reflect the uncomfortable truths of historical slavery across various ancient civilizations and empires. The rise of the High Sparrow and the Faith Militant mirrors historical periods of intense religious fanaticism, such as the medieval Inquisition or various periods of religious wars, where faith usurped political authority. The Citadel, home to the Maesters and their vast repository of knowledge, is an obvious nod to medieval monasteries and universities. These institutions preserved and advanced learning during tumultuous times. The dramatic trial by combat seen several times in Westeros is a legitimate, albeit barbaric, practice from medieval law. It was believed God would grant victory to the righteous party. The devastating wildfire used by the Targaryens and later by Cersei has a real historical parallel in Greek fire, a mysterious incendiary weapon used by the Byzantine Empire that burned on water. The mysterious Children of the Forest, the original inhabitants of Westeros, can be seen as an allegory for indigenous populations driven out or marginalized by invading forces and subsequent settlers. The invasion of the Andals, who brought the faith of the Seven and established many of the current noble houses, echoes the historical invasions that shaped European nations, like the Anglo-Saxon invasions of Britain. While fantastical, dragons themselves symbolize ancient human fears and awe towards powerful, destructive forces, much like legendary beasts in countless mythologies, often associated with divine power or cosmic destruction. The Targaryen practice of incestuous marriage, aimed at preserving blood purity and maintaining power, was unfortunately a historical reality among some royal families, though less openly practiced or accepted. The mysterious faceless men of Braavos, with their ability to change faces and execute targeted assassinations, find loose parallels in historical assassin guilds or secret societies, adept at political intrigue and murder. The free city of Braavos, with its intricate canal systems, powerful banks, and maritime trade, clearly draws inspiration from the historical Venetian Republic, a dominant naval and financial power. The formidable Iron Bank of Braavos, capable of influencing kingdoms with its loans and foreclosures, reflects the immense power wielded by historical banking families and institutions that funded wars and monarchies. The small council, advising the king or queen, mirrors the historical practice of monarchs relying on a privy council or trusted advisors. These figures wielded significant, often hidden, influence. The magnificent Sept of Baelor, a symbol of religious power in King's Landing, is reminiscent of grand medieval cathedrals and basilicas, centers of spiritual and political authority. The elite Kingsguard, sworn to protect the monarch, are inspired by historical royal guards like the Varangian Guard of the Byzantine Empire or the Swiss Guard, renowned for their loyalty and combat prowess. The brutal punishments depicted, from executions to torture, are sadly accurate reflections of medieval justice systems. Life was cheap, and discipline was often cruel and public. Marriages as political alliances, often between unwilling parties, were the norm in medieval nobility. These unions were about power, land, and heirs, not love, mirroring many alliances within Westeros. The tournaments, jousts, and displays of chivalry are direct callbacks to medieval European culture. These events were crucial for entertainment, martial practice, and showcasing knightly prowess. The political maneuvering and espionage of characters like Varys and Littlefinger reflect the historical reality of court schemers, spies, and master of whispers who shaped kingdoms from the shadows. Maesters, beyond their role as scholars, also serve as the physicians of Westeros, mirroring the learned doctors, barber surgeons, and apothecaries of the medieval world, blending science with traditional remedies. The seafaring, raiding culture of the Ironborn, with their harsh lands and emphasis on plunder, is clearly inspired by the historical Vikings. Their motto, "What is dead may never die," reflects their resilience. The free cities of Essos, each with its unique culture, government, and economic specialty, are loosely based on powerful historical city-states like Florence, Genoa, or the Hanseatic League. The ominous phrase "winter is coming" highlights the medieval reality of long, brutal winters that brought famine, disease, and death. Survival was a constant battle against the elements. The numerous castles, their strategic importance, and the brutal sieges they endured are faithfully reproduced from medieval warfare. Castle defenses and siege engines were at the forefront of military technology. The spread of rumors, prophecies, and propaganda plays a crucial role in the political landscape of Westeros, just as it did in historical courts. Control of information was a powerful weapon. The isolated, mountainous Vale of Arryn, with its impassable stronghold the Eyrie, reflects real-world inaccessible fortresses built for natural defense, using terrain to its utmost advantage. Dorne, with its distinct culture, more liberal customs, and unique fighting styles, stands apart from the rest of Westeros. It draws inspiration from Moorish Spain, distinct from medieval Europe. The Unsullied, Daenerys' disciplined and fearsome eunuch soldiers, mirror historical elite military units. These often included eunuch guards in various Eastern empires, prized for their loyalty and discipline. The various guilds of King's Landing, from blacksmiths to tanners, speak to the medieval realities of specialized crafts and trades. These skilled workers formed the backbone of urban economies. The social hierarchy of Westeros, from kings and queens to peasants and slaves, reflects the rigid great chain of being of medieval thought. Everyone had their place, divinely ordained. The solemn vows of the Night's Watch, forsaking family, titles, and lands, reflect the asceticism and lifelong commitments found in certain monastic orders or knightly fraternities of the medieval era. The numerous prophecies and ancient legends of Westeros, such as Azor Ahai, mirror the pivotal role prophecies played in historical narratives and religious beliefs, sometimes fueling wars or inspiring leaders. The Riverlands, contested by multiple lords and frequently ravaged by war, symbolizes historical border regions repeatedly fought over. Its strategic location made it a perpetual battleground. The guerrilla tactics and Robin Hood-esque justice of the Brotherhood Without Banners evoke historical outlaw bands, often formed in response to oppressive regimes or social injustice. The position of Hand of the King, effectively ruling in the monarch's stead, is reminiscent of powerful prime ministers or regents in historical monarchies who held immense executive authority. Many of Westeros's conflicts stem from contested royal succession, a recurring nightmare for historical monarchies, leading to civil wars and destabilizing entire kingdoms for generations. Beneath the battles of lords and kings, the suffering of the small folk is a constant theme. It starkly illustrates how common people bore the brunt of war, famine, and disease throughout history. Game of Thrones uses history not just for plot points but to explore universal human themes: ambition, betrayal, love, loyalty, and the corrupting influence of power, echoing countless historical sagas. The distinct cultures, resources, and strategic positions of each great house's region reflect real-world geopolitics. Geography shaped history, just as it shaped the fates of the Seven Kingdoms. The deeply patriarchal society of Westeros, where women often struggle for influence, mirrors historical gender roles. Yet, characters like Cersei and Daenerys challenge these norms, much like trailblazing women in history. The elaborate feasts, detailed court etiquette, and dining rituals are all drawn from medieval European nobility. These were not merely meals but crucial social and political events. From the tactics of Jon Snow in the Battle of the Bastards to Robb Stark's brilliant use of cavalry, the show incorporates medieval military strategies and the brutal realities of pitched battles. The use of animal sigils, lions, direwolves, stags, dragons, to represent noble houses is a direct parallel to heraldry throughout history. These symbols created immediate identity and fostered loyalty. By grounding its fantastical elements in historical realism, Game of Thrones achieves a unique depth. It makes dragons, White Walkers, and magic more believable, almost inevitable, within its established world. Ultimately, Game of Thrones is more than just entertainment. It's a gripping exploration of human nature, power, and conflict, teaching us that history, though sometimes fictionalized, contains endless lessons. The struggles for justice, the fight against overwhelming evil, and the complex morality of its characters reflect the enduring challenges and dilemmas that continue to shape our own world today. Game of Thrones will forever be remembered not just as a fantasy epic, but as a masterful tapestry woven from the threads of history, reminding us that the past is never truly dead. Which historical parallel in Game of Thrones surprised you the most? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite stories.